Tuesday is actually a great thing for me because I am a firm believer in the number of 3. And the nice thing about the number 3 is I'm standing in front of you as 3 people, literally and figuratively. I was born Melody Faye Blaylock, and I lived in Columbus, Mississippi. And believe it or not, because I am a fine specimen of a middle-class family now, but I was born in impoverished conditions in a single-wide trailer with my mom and dad and my brother and I, and it was horrible conditions. And it's amazing that I went to a small private women's college in South Carolina from those backgrounds. But as Melody Faye Blaylock, I was broken. I was broken at birth. My father was not the person that I would turn over any of my third graders in my classroom to. And he is one of the reasons I'm a teacher, because I know that I have kids out there that are coming from a parent just like him. And my job is to be the teacher that God gave me my whole life. Because no matter how bad it was at home, I'd walk in that classroom and those teachers took care of me. And that's my purpose in life, and I think I serve it every single day. But in that home, my father wasn't an alcoholic. He didn't abuse drugs. He didn't do all these things. He just somehow was mean by nature, and that's hard to believe. And as an adult, I look back and I see all these different things that led to him, enforcing his power over us at home, because he was kind of a broken person in his own life. He was disabled and some other issues. But as a child, you don't see that. As a child, you see that you're never good enough. And you see that you have to perform, and almost like a little trick animal. We would have to do all kind of things to get what children get naturally. Anything. Going to grandma's house on Saturday, every single day leading up to Saturday. If you do this, you're not going to go to grandma's house. If you don't do that, if you don't make the grade, if you don't do this for me, if you don't do that, want a Christmas tree? You're going to have to do this, going to have to do this, going to have to do this. So my whole life was trying to please, and never quite getting what I needed from that father figure. And luckily, a heavenly Father took good care of me, because my earthly father wasn't doing such a good job. And that heavenly Father took me to college, but he couldn't get in here. He can get in here, and I loved him and he loved me, and I knew that. And I knew that God was in my life. I knew the only way that a poor little white girl in Mississippi gets out of that single-wide trailer to go to Columbia College with all those wealthy little Columbia College girls is because God's good. And I knew that. But I didn't think I deserved it. And it's not that I didn't think, I knew I didn't deserve it. But the nice thing about Columbia College is I got to start over, because nobody at Columbia College knew I came from a single white trailer. So I got to kind of reinvent myself. But I was still Melody Faye Blaylock, and I was still fighting that demon. Well, that demon led me into my first marriage. And I don't want to say it was all bad. And when Kim used the word abusive, I kind of was like, well, I hate to say abusive, because there wasn't physical abuse, but there was a lot of mental abuse. And if I had had a stronger belief in myself, I wouldn't have taken myself there. But I went right in, and I could accept all of these things that my first husband did, because he wasn't as bad as my dad. Isn't that awful? But he wasn't as bad as my dad. My dad would hit my mom and be very physical to her. Well, that only happened once or twice, My dad had no money. We were poor as little church mice, and my first husband had a great job, and he was a stockbroker. And if he did something really bad, he came home with a really nice gift, which kind of sucks, but it's not so bad. So it's like I was in the middle of it, and I knew I was in the middle of it, but I kept just taking it, and I kept letting it happen, because in my heart, I was still Melody Faye Blaylock, even though I had become that second person. and I'd become Melody Blaylock Oliver. And as Melody Blaylock Oliver, I was kind of owned by this person, and I kind of felt indebted to him. And for 5 years, I lived with him and did the things that I was supposed to do and lived blindly. I had this faith that if I loved enough, and if I cleaned enough, if I organized enough, and if all my plates were in the right order and all my clothes were color-coded in my my closet, and, if I could control those things, that eventually this gracious God was going to let me control the other things in my life. And then I had my first child, and Sarah was the most beautiful, perfect creature that I've ever seen. To this day, Will, of course, I don't want to say that. My son's going to see this and question me. I had a second most beautiful, perfect child 2 years later. But when I had Sarah, the enormity of what I was living in really hit home. And I really started to see how bad it was. And I started to see, I'm doing everything. For the longest time, I felt like I owed my husband everything. He's the one bringing home the money. He's paying the bills. He's in control. But really, I did everything. All he did was pay the bills. I mowed the grass 9 months pregnant. I, made the face in front of everybody. I dressed the kids cute. I made all their clothes. Oh my gosh, I made all their clothes. Why did I make all their clothes? Put little matching hair bows with all the things I smocked. Why? Because I wanted everyone to see what I didn't feel. Because if they saw it, maybe it would come true. If I made that little show, then maybe it would be okay. But Sarah showed me that it wasn't working. And when Will came 2 years later, complete and total surprise, like he is ordained by God. I'm just telling you, that boy is made for greatness, because the fact we had him is a miracle. But at Will's first birthday, I realized I got to do something. And I'm going to tell you as honest as I can, if it was just me, I'd be there today. I know it. I know it in my heart. I would only do it because of my kids. My mom taught me, and she taught me well, how to put up with somebody. I learned it deep down in my soul. I knew it through every fiber of my being. But my kids aren't going to learn that from me. And they gave me the strength. God gave me the strength through those two perfect children to get out. And what I look at every day is the fact that the cycle that my mom set for me, that she set in motion, that I continued, isn't there for Sarah and Will. They actually get to have a different future because they've seen a strong woman. They've seen someone who made it on their own. I divorced my first husband when Sarah and Will were 4 and 2 respectively. And I was on my own for about 7.5, 8 years. And it was hard. Okay, I said I was a teacher, so I wasn't rolling in the dough. And my ex succumbed to alcoholism pretty hard. So he is in a homeless shelter in downtown Greenville. And hasn't paid child support for many a year. So there was a whole bunch of times that I laid in my bed after putting Sarah and Will to bed and just cried. And just said, God, please. Just please get me through this, get me through this, get me through this. Just please get me through this. And he did. And a couple years ago, it was kind of funny. My friends were kind of getting nervous. Like, Melody, you're not dating. I was scared to death to date because I was going to find another one, just like my dad, just like my first husband. Why would you date again? That's all that's out there. But finally, when I was strong enough, God put someone out there, and that made me my third person. And I'm now Melody Powell. And it is amazing what he has done. It's amazing. The man that is in my life now, I would have never chosen 8 years ago. I wouldn't have thought I was good enough. There's nothing about me that deserved him 8 years ago in my mind. And God said, you're crazy. You're crazy. You deserve him. And more importantly than that, those kids deserve him. And so every day I get to live a new life. Stage 3 is pretty good. And also I teach 3rd grade, by the way, 3. But it's pretty wonderful. And I'm excited that I'm on this journey. And I can't wait for what lies ahead in this stage, 3rd stage of my life. I thank y'all so much for having us tonight. I'm glad I went first over the published authors. So thank you.